So without hesitating, then, what I'd like to do is really just open this up to questions. I will cut it off just about exactly an hour from now. So I'd like to open it up to questions and see if you can get a question in the box. I can't promise I will do them in order, but I'll try. And really, it's your time. That's why I'm here, is to give you the time and opportunity to ask any questions in an open forum. So go for it if you have any, and we'll see if we can get things started. Also, while we're doing that, just to let you know, we have the capability here to look at any web page that's important. If we need to pull up a particular page, we can. And there is what's called a whiteboard where you can actually type also in addition to where you are now, but I'm not sure that it will necessarily help us. Okay, so here's the first one coming in. And I'll try to, let me start recording this too, folks, if that works. See if we can record this also and make it available after this event, if that works out. So first question in here is from Andrew. And Andrew asked, what do you think is the purpose of the Morgellons organism? Well, that's a great question. I think the emphasis there is intended to be on the word purpose. And, we're talking about a reason for something at that point. And I can't say, well, this is a great question. My work is based upon, first of all, primarily observing and reporting and declaring that which I think is necessary and important to the world. That's first in terms of what I do. In terms of trying to draw intent or reason behind things, we should all be doing that, absolutely sure. But obviously it's much harder to get those answers. I would say at this point that all the information indicates that this thing is by design. Again, these are my opinions as I talk tonight. And by the way, there's nothing medical going to be given here at all. So do not construe any kind of medical advice whatsoever in anything I say, and that's an ongoing statement that it will be there every time that I speak. But my opinion is, based upon the work that's been done, is that this does not appear to, let's say, be an accident of nature. It's possible, but it doesn't appear to be an accident of nature. It's we have to ask questions why. Such as, why would there be the hesitation in trying to identify this particular organism? If it was something simple, or it doesn't even have to be simple, but if it's something in the books, you would think there would be plenty of folks clamoring to peg it down. And that opportunity has existed for many, many years now. And the fact that it has not happened already lets us know that the complexity of this and the ease of access to knowing what this is probably much harder than that which is anything in any kind of conventional textbook or medical knowledge, that type of thing. So it does seem to be outside the norm of known life existence. There is a paper that I've recently written that many of you may be familiar with, called Morgellons, a New Classification, which focuses on this very topic. And it's a rather heavy paper in the sense that it makes a declaration that what we're speaking of appears by all information and observation to cross the three primary domains of life as it has been structured. Basically, in the biology books, you'll have a certain structure to life. And at the highest level, this thing is crossing three of the main categories, which are called domains, which makes no sense. From a biological standpoint, it makes no sense to do that. So, I guess that's the first thing that I would respond in terms of that, is that it appears at this point that it does not appear to be an act of nature, and if it is, no one has certainly been able to identify within that any kind of conventional framework, and that in fact the information indicates the opposite, that the complexity and the particular behavior is complex enough to warrant the strong consideration of design. And I guess that's how I'll answer that for now. And then we'll go to this next one here. And thanks for that, Andrew. If it's not complete, or you think that I'm not answering your question, let me know, and I'll try to go for another round. But also have some slack with me too, because there's a lot of things we don't know. The next question is from Computer Smith. Greetings. And the question, I'll just read it because it'll take too long to just rephrase it. Here's the question. I have been collecting environmental fibers in the form of dust bunnies, in quotes, unquotes, and observing their behavior under a digital microscope. The movement they show seems to be switched on and off at random times. Could they be controlled by ELF or some other source of end communication? Another great question. These are good questions coming in, folks. And I think we have to understand, obviously, I don't know everything, certainly. We don't know everything. And it's very hard to get to where we know enough. I will give you my best assessment, but I'm not claiming to have magic knowledge of things that cannot be seen or recorded or studied, but I'll do my best. This is a great question, too, in the sense that we're asking, is there any possibility, I'm going to turn down the volume on this other machine, is there any possibility that we have some type of control mechanism or control mechanisms external to the organisms themselves, which can serve as some kind of activation? And, is it possible? Well, the first thing I would say is absolutely yes, it's possible, because actually most things are possible in my book. The more I go along, if you can imagine something, it's possible, is what it comes out to be. So, certainly it is possible. The question now is, do we have anything to indicate that may be the case? Well, I don't have observations under the scopes, as you do. The first thing I would do is, try to get your observations down so people can see them. And I would say this in general. You know how many times people say to me they see something or they know something, but I don't have the reports available to me. So I can't substantiate it or deny it. And I would just encourage each of us. And I know it's difficult, but sometimes it's difficult. But whatever you can do, if you see something that you think is important, or you observe something, I would encourage you to do whatever it takes to get those observations down so that they can be evaluated, because that's the way that I would actually start to evaluate that question, is for somebody to either provide me evidence or for me to establish evidence on my own that this is indeed occurring. Okay, so that's the first thing we have. And so the question is, do we have that available to us now? And I would say the answer is no. There's no study of that kind whatsoever that I've seen that would show any kind of control mechanism in any kind of substantiated way. Doesn't mean it's not there. I just haven't seen the study, and I haven't done it. There are so many things to be done. If I'm lucky, I have a couple hours a week to work on the research. We easily could have an entire professional staff involving thousands of people funded with who knows how much money for how much time in terms of the amount of work that probably needs to be done and should be done. So it's sort of a joke in terms of what we're actually up against here, trying to come up with information. So the first thing you would do is you would start studying those studies with external stimuli, which I have only just begun that process. There's a couple times where I started working with some frequency analysis, just a little bit. There was nothing recorded at that time. I will say this in answer to this question, in that, and this is on an anecdotal level, and anecdotal information, it's important. We never want to dismiss it, but we have to keep it in perspective and realize that it's not corroborated usually in any way. We don't have anything to particularly support it. It usually is something that just piques our interest, at least in my case. So this is one of those cases. And, I guess I would say this involves some personal knowledge and some personal awareness. But there was an episode where you had a sudden emergence of a filament from the skin. I mean sudden. And the filament was 2 to 3 inches long. And it's a hard thing to describe because it's very anecdotal. But I would say that the circumstances, the physical circumstances